Welcome to the Descenso Zone podcast, where we talk about creativity and personal growth through a lens of curiosity and humor. My guest today is professional voice actress Natalie Hitzel. You've heard her as Ella the Keebler Elf in Keebler cookie commercials and across video games, animation, and talking toys for brands like Disney, Lego, Pixar, and Coca-cola. We talk about her journey into the industry, the craft of voice work, the audition grind, the realities of freelancing, and how AI could impact it all. Now, let's get into the zone with Natalie Hitzel. Natalie Hitzel, nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you're a full-time voice actress who's done everything from commercials to animation to video games to talking toys. I'm curious, when did you first realize your voice could be your career?
For me, honestly, it wasn't about the way my voice sounded, but just what I wanted to do. My brother is a very, very talented computer science major. He works on mainly web development, but he also works on games. He went to college for it. He is very good at math. I love video games. He taught me how to play video games. He put a controller in my hand when I was like 2.5 or 3, but I'm horrible at math. So I wanted to work in the game industry. And I took a lot of community theater as a kid because I thought it was fun. And I kind of put the two together and was like, I can work on games and not have to worry about math equations. So I went into voiceover. My dad was in radio as well. So I got used to like being behind mics by going to the station with him and watching him. Every once in a while, he'd let me sit there with him and say some things on the radio. So as a kid, that was like super exciting. And I went to school for theater, not interested in theater, but just wanting to, get a background in acting. And then from there, I went to a school in New York and made my first demos. And that's when I started sending them out to people and getting hired for video game work.
Cool. I can totally relate to not being good at math. I'm also quite bad at math, so I'm with you there. So what school did you go to in New York?
I went to Edge Studio in New York City.
Okay, very cool. And so you went there and now you're back in New Jersey and you're sort of working from New Jersey, is that right?
Yep, I was in New York for a bit. I really loved it, but I love the woods and we have a lot of farmland where I am. I love that and I just missed that. So after, I guess around the pandemic, when everything kind of went to remote, I came back and built a really beautiful studio in my closet, and my family and friends helped me, and I just started recording out of here, and it worked. I've never had a complaint about my audio or how it sounds, and I've been very lucky to book a lot of work out of here.
Yeah, you sound great. No, it's nice
Thank you.
Having you on the pod because your camera setup is great and your audio is great. So it's like I have no worry. I had no worries about this one. I was like, oh, she's gonna have it totally figured out.
Oh, thank you. That's good.
Grew up in New Jersey, is that right?
Yes, born and raised.
Yeah, so New Jersey has and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just a Canadian boy over here, but New Jersey has a bit of a stereotypical accent associated with it. I wonder if you've ever had to adjust your voice for that accent. It doesn't really sound like you have one to me, but have you ever had to adjust for that? And have you ever worked with accents in the course of your career?
Subtly. I every once in a while in a video game or a commercial, they'll just remind me that I'm saying one word not wrong, but not in a way that they're hoping to hear it in the commercial. And I'm totally surprised because I don't think I have a Jersey accent. And then I listen back to it and I'm like, oh, that does sound different than the way you're saying it right now. So I just real quick fix it for them. But every once in a while I've been told it comes out subtly. Not a big deal, but yeah. I have done New York and Jersey accents for games, as well as other accents. I think Mid-Atlantic, British, Cockney accents, especially for a game that I recently worked on coming out. So I have done some accents, but usually it's just my native Jersey sound.
The Cockney accent is one I worked on as well because I had to do some acting role where I had a Cockney accent. This was many years ago. Most of my acting work was when I was a kid and a teenager, so I've forgotten how to do everything, but it's really cool that you can shift gears into different voices. I remember one thing, being a good old Canadian, one of the things that they would always tell me is that you have to be very careful about out and about. Apparently, we say those words very differently than our American friends. So
Mm.
I was constantly corrected on about as opposed to about, like the Canadians would say.
Well, I think you sound great.
Well, thank you. So so you got a theater degree, you said, right? So,
Yeah.
but you weren't really interested in pursuing theater. It was more about getting that voice. It was always about voice acting for you. Is that right?
Yeah, when I started the theater program, I really wasn't sure what to expect. I told the professor there who was in charge of the theater program what my goals were, and she was really helpful. She signed me up for a lot of like public speaking classes, which I was a nervous wreck about, but I got through them. Uh, she knew my goals. I kind of blended in with everyone else there, and I can't if you're someone who wants to go into voiceover, I can't recommend it enough to get a base background in theater. Theater is kind of the start of anything acting, and it's just so important to learn to project and to control your voice and to be in front of a crowd and just the theater etiquette. There's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of teamwork, and especially in game development, there's a lot of teamwork too. So even though you're a freelancer and maybe you're coming on for a day or two to work on a game as a voice actor, you're still coming in as part of a team, and these people have like known each other for so long and been working so hard on this game, and you just got to come in with that teamwork mindset and do your job and go out. And I think I learned a lot about that in theater.
Yeah, I agree. I think so many people think that voice acting is just, oh, you just talk into a microphone, but there's so much more behind it, right? You have to
Yeah, for
control your
sure.
voice. You have to, like your tone is important. I mean, you would know this better than me. I'm trying to remember back to when I was doing it, but it's like your tone is important. Your cadence is important. The speed with which you're saying things is important. Like things like commercials, they want you to do it at a particular speed because they only have so many seconds available in that commercial, right? So there's all these different factors that come into play, and having voice control is really important. Is there anything that you think is like your most valuable skill as a voice actor?
For sure, improv. Where I went to for my theater program, she took that very seriously. And improv is so important because, yes, your audition is what books you for a job. But once you get in there, you're in there for an hour or 2 hours, and they have so many different ideas in their mind for how they might want the script to sound. And if you can change on a dime, or if if you read the room and they're okay with you making choices that they didn't necessarily ask for, if you can show them what you can do differently or how many different ways you can do it, it really is a valuable skill. It impresses them. It takes some pressure off them if you can just make them laugh when they weren't expecting to laugh. That's really important, especially in commercial, but also in games, animation, across the board.
Improv is a really cool thing. And when I was auditioning for voice stuff, one thing I would always try and do, I don't know if this is something you do too, but I would do a take as it's scripted. And then I would also do a take where I would add a little something.
Hmm.
And I would just do that so that it would stand out because they're going to hear 200 of these, right? So it's like if you give them an extra little joke or an extra little something on the take, it'll help you stand out. And I found that to be just something that I tried to do.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're enjoying this podcast, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It's the free, easy way to support the channel, and it lets the algorithm know that I'm not just talking to my mom. If you do subscribe, my promise to you is to make the podcast the best it can be and to continue to bring on new and interesting guests every week to talk about creativity and personal growth. Thanks for being a part of this journey. Now, let's get back into the zone. So you've worked like in commercials, animation, video games. You were even some talking toys. That's so cool. Can you tell us a
Thank
little
you.
about your maybe just the broad strokes of some of your favorite projects you've worked on?
I was literally just talking to my friend about this earlier today because I want to put together a new like visual video game reel. There's a ongoing job that I keep coming back for like updates. It's a game called Path to Nowhere. It's not even just my character, it's the music and the vibe. She's like an artist and a vampire, and just everything in that game is so cool. I love playing that game. Usually when I'm in a game, I play it just to get a feel for the game and what the style of acting is, but I play that game just because I love it. So that I love voicing toys. There's a Hasbro toy that I voiced quite a while back for real friends. It's a lamb. And I love working with kids. My mom was a teacher for years. I babysat most of my teen years. And to feel like I'm, in a toy that is possibly educating a kid or giving a child like a core memory or a core experience, that's so cool to me. So I'll always be excited to voice a toy when the opportunity comes up. And commercially, I recently did the voice of Ella the Keebler elf for like the Keebler fudge cookie commercials, and she's just so crazy and chaotic and fun. So I always gotta have to make sure I've had a cup of coffee and I'm energized when I go into those sessions. But after the session, it leaves me feeling like almost like a good workout. Like I just spent 2 hours yelling and screaming, but having like the best time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was watching some of the videos of your voice in various projects, and like it seems like so interesting because your voice has been heard so many times across so many different mediums, video games, like we talked about these toys. I think even in like some Happy Meal toys I saw you
Mhm.
did for McDonald's. That's like so cool. It's like, do you ever feel weird about that? Like, is there any sense of weirdness around the fact that your voice has been heard by probably millions of people at this point, but like your face isn't recognizable in that same way?
I don't know if that's what makes me feel weird, but I still feel weird hearing my own voice not coming out of me. Like if I play a game that I'm in, I have a lot of guy friends and they're all gamers, and sometimes they'll want to play something I'm in to just like see, oh, what have you been working on? And when my character comes up, I'm like, I don't want to, like I still don't like hearing myself. So I don't know if that kind of counts as your question, but playing games that I'm in is a little weird to me. Same with watching anything I'm in. I don't watch anything I'm in. I've tried and it's just weird. Toys, think for some reason it doesn't bother me because they're so like childlike in nature, and a lot of it is animal sounds that it's easy for me to be like, oh, that's not even me. It's fine.
I think that's a pretty common experience for performers to
Yeah.
feel resistance to like watching their own stuff or listening to their
Mhm.
own stuff. I'm not. I wonder what that is. Is it like a self-critical thing you think, where it's like, oh, I could have done that better, or I could have changed this or said it like that, or is it just like shyness around hearing yourself, or what do you think it is for you?
For me, I think it's a combination. I'm very shy. I was very shy throughout school, but every time I listen to myself, I'm like, oh, I could have said that better, or why did I do that, or why did I hesitate there? I beat myself up a bit, so it's like I might as well just not even listen to myself, and they seem happy, so I'll just keep doing the sessions the way I'm doing them.
Yeah, fair enough. You're your own worst critic, I feel like a lot of
For
times.
sure.
Your profile mentions that you're partially deaf. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing more about that because I feel like it's extra impressive that
Oh, thanks.
you do this work that you do, because it seems like that could be a hurdle for you.
In voiceover so far, knock on wood, it hasn't been much of a hurdle. I record everything from my booth. I have my audio levels adjusted, my volume levels for me adjusted the way I need them, and it doesn't affect the client on the other side. In life, definitely, it's a hurdle. So I was born with mild hearing loss. I wore hearing aids as a kid, and then as a teenager, I just, rebelled and refused to wear them. And then I think I was 19, and Thanksgiving Day, I woke up with absolutely no hearing in this ear, completely deaf. I thought my ear was clogged, so I spent 2 days like trying to unclog it using different things to try to help it. And my mom was like, "It's something's wrong," and she took me to a ear, nose, and throat doctor. And he said, "You have sudden single-sided deafness. It's very rare. There's really, in most cases, no explanation for it. It can happen to anyone. Unfortunately, it happened to you who already had to struggle with hearing loss. Still completely permanently deaf in my left ear. Still have like some mild hearing loss in my right ear. But yeah, like in everyday life, if I'm crossing the street, I have to be extra vigilant of my left side because I can't hear anything coming from that side. Because I only have one good ear, everything there, I don't have like a sense of where sound's coming from. If a dog is barking over here, I could look over there and it'll sound like it's coming over there or back there or in front of me. I don't know where the sound is coming from. So that's frustrating. It's frustrating in large crowds because everyone starts to just sound like static, not really talking. With music, with lyrics, I don't really listen to music with lyrics anymore because the singing starts to blend in with the music. So yeah, everyday life, it kind of sucks, but I'm grateful that it only happened to one year. I'm grateful that I'm able to do this every day, and do something I really love. I think everyone deserves to be doing something that they love for a living.
I empathize with that. I mean, obviously, I don't know, I don't have that experience, so I can't like relate to it fully, but I can imagine that that would be challenging in some ways, and I applaud you for, continuing to pursue the thing that you love. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little about Hammerless? It's like a true crime podcast, but in a fantasy world. Is that like an ongoing project for you, or is that something that you just kind of popped in on?
So that I booked that through my agent. It's uh, based on the game Clash of Clans, and it's from what I can understand, it's just a podcast, like a spin-off of the game. It's got its own story, and I was cast to come in on as one of the players, I think, and just reacting to what I'm watching, almost like Dungeons and Dragons, what I'm watching, the action, and just like little cute, quippy one-liners. I came in for that, and I think I recorded for about 2 hours, and everything I recorded just kind of shows up every once in a while in an episode.
Very cool. And what about, I also noticed you worked on like Final Fantasy. Can you tell me about that experience?
Sure, that was actually one of the first bigger projects that I got to work on. It was through a really lovely casting director who I still talk to all the time. It's a spin-off Final Fantasy game called War of the Visions. I don't, if you've ever played Final Fantasy Tactics, it's very much like that, the style of that game. I got the character that I voiced before I came in to voice her, she kind of already existed. Her like good side was Fina, and then I got brought on to voice Dark Fina. So that was really fun. She was a little more spooky and I don't know, I guess can I say seductive? Because she kind of was, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to play a little. If there's ever a game or something, I always like opt to play like the darker character. It's just more fun, I feel like.
Oh yeah,
Or
for
maybe
sure.
that's just a weird insight into my personality. Who knows?
Well, me too.
I haven't played much Final Fantasy, admittedly, but I've been playing Assassin's Creed, like some of the older ones, because I just
Mm.
never played them. And like going back to those games, like I played one and two when they first came out a long time ago, and now I'm playing one of the later ones. And like it's such like I didn't realize, especially at the time when I first was playing them, I didn't realize how much storytelling and how much acting is involved in these games. Like if you watch the actual cutscenes and even like the conversations that happen outside of the cutscenes, it's like so story driven. It's like very um, acting heavy, and
Mm.
I really started to appreciate that a lot more once I started playing this more recently. Because like a lot of times when you play a game, a lot of people will like skip the cutscenes and stuff just to like get to the action. But now I'm
Mm.
watching all the cutscenes. It's like a movie. It's like a 40-hour movie, you know?
Well, they say right now the video game industry is actually bigger than the movie industry. These cinematic games really are like an interactive movie. If you look at like the narrative teams for so many of these companies, just the people who are like narrative designers or narrative producers, there's so many of them that they use for each game because the story and the cinematic aspect of the game is just so important and so big.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that has like because I'm a writer as well, and so like that's something I was like, oh, I was always curious about that, especially more lately. I was like, how did those game writers like craft these stories and how do they get into this world? It's just something that's been interesting, because especially since I've been playing this game, I was like, man, there's so much storytelling here. It's like
Hmm.
it's a really cool, I guess, a different perspective that I have on it now after playing this.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I used to do, and I don't know if you've ever had this experience or if they even do it anymore, but it's something called loop groups. Have you ever done a loop group or heard of a loop group?
Yeah, I did one. It was actually one of the only things I recorded at in a professional studio, like outside of my studio. It was for an live action show. I actually forget the name of the show, and me and a few other people my age were supposed to like be high school students, I guess. So we were just talking and walking around and making like sounds with our mouths, and they mixed that into like the background of kids in the locker room. I guess that would be considered looping. I think that's my only experience with it, other than I guess if you go into dubbing, that's a whole different thing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially it. I was going to sort of explain it for anyone who might not know, but I think you did a pretty good job there. It's
Oh,
essentially
sorry.
like, no, that's okay. You beat me to it. It's like essentially you just go in and you're the background noise. So if a scene takes place in a restaurant, you'll be like, hey, what are you going to have for dinner tonight? Like you'll just have a little conversation with people in the booth with you, and then they lower the volume on that a lot, and then it just sort of lives in the background. Um, Usually like verbally inaudible, like it's just kind of a lull or like a noise or whatever, so that the scene feels real. But I wondered if that like still happens because like I feel like now, and I want to get your take on this too. It's like, do you think AI is going to sort of take over some of that kind of stuff? Because I feel like it's starting to, maybe. Do you have any worry about that?
For loop group and dubbing specifically, I do think AI is going to affect it, but it depends on the studio what they want, if they want to use AI or if they're more keen on real people. I think it's a project per project basis. With games, same thing. I think smaller one-liner NPCs or atmospheric voices that like you walk past and they say something, but you don't necessarily interact with them. I think those could be in danger in the future. It also depends on what happens in the future with the union. Animation and commercial, I think, are different. Like really small local commercials, yes, but the big national commercials that they would, as the way things are now, they'd much rather a person come in for 2 hours or 1 hour even. And this is why improv is so important. Give them what they want and then give them something completely different and give them five other reads that are completely different than that and have all that and be great and ready to go. Whereas AI can't improv. It can't come up with something on its own. It can't feel things and have a real life scenario and basics experience on that real life scenario on the script that's being put in front of them. I don't think it's going to affect the really big stuff, but small things for sure. And voice actors just coming in or looking to, put some credits on their resume and get started, it's just going to get harder and harder for them because the smaller stuff is going to be affected, I think.
Yeah, those little roles, those little introductory roles, I think are so important though for a lot of young actors because it's like, how do you get your foot in the door while you go and you do a one-liner on something, or you go and you do a couple lines on this other project, and it's like that really helps build the resume. And so I agree. I think it's like it becomes harder to break in, and I think that's going to probably become the case for a lot of things, unfortunately, a lot of creative endeavors anyway.
Yeah, for sure. It's not going to just affect voice actors, it's going to affect game developers, in my opinion. It's going to affect people in the medical field. And I do think AI is a great thing in the medical field. Uh, it's a shame right now that so many people are like afraid of losing their livelihoods over it and afraid of having their creative voices or performances stolen by AI.
How do you
There's a
think it's
whole
going to affect game developers?
um I I think in good and bad ways. It could do some of I think this is just my opinion that it could start learning to do the code that like entry level positions are used for. I think entry level game developers are going to have a much harder time finding a good footing in the industry. Entry level artists, concept artists for sure. I mean, I think they're going to have a rough time in the industry. I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know for sure, but I think everybody should be a little worried, not just creative people and not just voice actors.
It's definitely changing at a pace that is difficult to keep up with and difficult to project what might the future outcome be because it's like it's changing so quickly. So
Mhm.
it's tough to know. What advice would you have maybe for young voice actors who are like, I want to get into the game world or animation or commercials? Like, do you have any advice that would be applicable to now?
I think, and I've been following this advice of my own and of that other people have given me. And this is not said in a rude way because I'm a gamer and I know how this can sound rude, but get good. Keep coaching, get as good as you can. Coach, coach, coach. Don't feel, I mean, I know it's harder, easier said than done. Coaching can be expensive, but the voice actors who are just undeniably talented and can bring things that AI really can never bring to a session, I think that they'll hold out and they'll be okay. There's always going to be a producer or a creative director or a casting director or a company that just has to bring in real people because you can't replace them. Um, there's always going to be the people who set aside the budget for it. Uh, just keep training, keep getting good because AI will never be better than you. It'll maybe someday be as good as an average voice actor, but I don't think it'll ever be better than a talented, well-trained voice actor.
I think become undeniable is like should be a t-shirt. Like
Yeah, for sure.
that's yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that applies to so many different things. I feel like in TV and film industry that I'm in, that applies to every single role. It's like you have to be undeniable because there's so much. I don't know what it's like in the States, but I feel like here there's so much competition. There's so many
Mhm.
people who are interested in doing these creative things. It's like you have to be undeniable. And the only way to do that is to, as you say, get good.
Yeah, and not just like you said, not just because of AI. A lot of people want to be in the creative field. It's insanely competitive. The best thing you can do for yourself is get good.
Is there like something about being a voice actor that you love, and then maybe one thing that you're like, don't love this so much?
I love going into my booth and working on a creative project that someone came up with. I think creativity is just, it's so human, and video games are so creative. Commercials nowadays, commercials are like short films. They're so creative. Like so many commercials out there are beautiful. They're like, wow. Animation, a beautifully drawn animation, just like, I love it. I love looking. I don't care what it's for or what the story is, but I love being able to like, give my voice to a beautifully drawn animation, especially for kids. So just being a small cog in the creative process is really exciting to me. I guess something that I don't like is, the worry that when's the next job going to be. I'm very fortunate to be doing very well, and I also have a very supportive family. I'm very happy to say that I live with my mom and brother, and the three of us get along great. I know for a lot of people who live in a small apartment or live paycheck to paycheck, it's easier said than done to talk about all the things I love in this industry because when you're worrying about when the next job's coming, you get stressed, and sometimes that stress is heard in your voice and in auditions. So yeah, uh, freelancing is not always super easy. It's very difficult, and worrying about the next job is very difficult.
Yeah, not knowing when the next gig is going to come, and then also feeling like, in a weird way, and I'm not saying this is you, but I'm saying that this feeling, I could imagine how this feeling would be true. And it's a feeling that I felt as someone who's worked in, creative industries and mostly writing these days, but certainly still applies where it's like, am I good enough? It's like, I haven't gotten a gig in a while. Like, should I go in to insurance or something else? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure a lot of people feel like this, this question of like, am I doing, am I cut out for this? And I think
Hmm.
the answer to that is, where do you want to suffer in a weird way? Because it's like you can suffer with the not knowing of when the next job is going to come and like push through that and keep pushing and keep getting better and keep, growing and working in this one thing. Or you can suffer by doing a thing you don't really want to do. And it's like, where do you want to suffer? Because you're going to suffer somewhere. If you're passionate about something, I think you need to chase it and you need to pursue it and you need to go through that hardship. And what comes out on the other side often is talent and grit and strength. And if you're in a position, I know it's like you're saying, it's sort of easier to say that if you're in a position where you're not going to get kicked out of your apartment next week. And so I totally get that. And, people have to do what they have to do. And not everyone can, be privileged enough to work on things they love. But I think even if you're in that place, like trying to make it a little side hustle, trying to work on the things you love when you have downtime. Like, I think it's really important. I think it's important for mental health. I think it's important for fulfillment.
I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, a passion or purpose. I think every human being kind of needs that.
Not to totally shift gears, but when you're doing an audition, is there anything that you do to prep beforehand? Like, if you get a script, I assume your agent will like send you a script and maybe a little breakdown of the character. Often those breakdowns are pretty sparse. Are you like filling in ideas of what you think the character will be going into an audition, and then how do you adjust once you're in the room?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, first thing in the morning, the first thing I do, even though I love my coffee, is drink one full glass of water. Being hydrated is super important uh, in any case, but especially in voiceover. When I, so when I get a script, and I've had this conversation actually with my friend, everyone does this differently. She much prefers just saying the lines and injecting emotion into it, and that works for her. She sounds great. She's booking like crazy. She's so talented. I always have to have like a scenario in my head, a lead in, someone I'm talking to, someone specific, and they have to say something to me. And then, especially if it's a commercial, the script has to be a response to them. It can't be just off the cuff, like something I just started saying out of nowhere. I have to be responding to them in some way. And for me, that's what makes it come to life and makes it feel authentic, because commercials nowadays are all about authenticity. And that's just how I do commercials. With video games, it's much more of like a character study, I guess. I analyze the description of the character. If I can get a picture of the character, I do that. If I know what game it is, which you don't always know, a lot of times it's a code name for it's just what the studio does to protect their anonymity the anonymity of the game. But if I know what the game is, or I know like the style of the game, I look it up and just watch some trailers or clips and try to get a feel for it. Um, and then I just, based on the style of the acting, I go over the description like crazy and just do like a scene study on that character. If I get cast in a game, that's when I try to, if the game's already out or the studio has made previous games, I try to play the games because I love playing games anyway. So I just want to get a feel for it and just like get to know the world that I'm going to be in, which is kind of exciting to be like, wow, this world's so immersive. I get to like be a part of this.
That's cool. Has your relationship to your own voice changed over time? Like, have you found that you can push it further or maybe in a different direction, or just modulate it differently as you've grown in this career?
Yeah, so I graduated college in my early 20s and then did a year at Edge Studio in New York. So I was mid 20s when I started, and I had a very, very youthful sound. I still, I think, do sound younger than my age, which I'm 31, by the way. Still sound mid to late 20s, I think. But when I got started, I sounded like a 16-year-old, and that was great for like toys and animation. But I was struggling like fitting in to most game characters that I was auditioning for, and same with commercials. It's kind of rare to find a commercial that's voiced by a 16-year-old. So as I got older, I got used to like talking with my chest voice and coming across as more confident. I wasn't a very confident teenager, and doing this kind of forced me to be like, I'm confident, I'm an adult now. People like a level of confidence because, especially when you're in the session, if you sound confident, it'll make them feel confident that the session's going to go well. So with like getting that confidence came like standing up straighter and kind of talking with my chest. And I've noticed that my voice has matured over the years. I have like a little bit of grit or rasp. There's probably another better word for that, but I never had that as a early 20s, late teens girl. I had a very like airy, like front of the face, breathy voice that was very bright and young.
Like the changing of the voice was something that I went through too, and I talked about this a little bit on the podcast before. But I did some voice acting when I was a kid, and then I was on a season of a show called the Bernstein Bears, and the my voice changed in between seasons. And so,
Oh, wow.
for a boy, your voice gets deeper, and you know the Bernstein Bears is about this young, bear child. So uh, the voice didn't work. Like I couldn't get that childlike voice back. And so they had to recast. And so that was like, at the time, it was probably like, it doesn't bother me now. I mean, it's what they needed to do. I totally get it. But like, I'm sure at the time I was like bummed about that. So I can imagine that like, you're as someone who wants to be a voice actor, like feeling your voice change and then like having to adjust would be like a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, actually, I I guess this is kind of related. My current commercial demo, which I really love, and J. Michael produced them, and he's just awesome. I got that made pretty early on in my career, I guess you'd say. But I don't sound in that demo, I really don't sound the way I sound anymore. If I'm very excited or talking to someone I don't know that well, I go up in pitch. Almost, it's just like a, little slight nerves. And I do revert to like that mid 20s personality and girl that I was. And I guess that comes through in my demos. But I have to update my demos because I sound much different than I sounded back then. And I love my demos, and they got me into my agency. But yeah, I'm gonna do that because my voice has changed a lot since then.
I want to talk a little about the agency and the coaching you talked about because
Mhm.
that's something that is here in Canada as well. Like there's tons of voice coaches, there's tons of agents. How did you get your agent and how much like did they do voice coaching with you? Or are you using outside coaches or how does that all work?
So my first agent was in LA, and they were great, and they helped me get started. I applied to them on my own, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna throw spaghetti at the wall and see what happens. And they did accept me, and I got a lot of my first talking toy jobs through them. I am now represented by DDO in New York, and they're just so amazing. They really know my sound. So a lot of agents, they're great because they just send you so much. They send you so much to audition for. DDO, it's more curated. They send me things that specifically fit my sound and personality. So when I'm in the booth auditioning for it, I'm feeling confident because I know that it just fits me. Um, they are really great at giving me advice, but not like hand holding. They recommended a few coaches for me. Um, the way I got into them is actually a friend of mine who is a casting director and I've worked with many times. Very grateful to work with her. She emailed them and said, she said, hey, Nat, I think that these guys are going to be good for you. And she emailed them and told them like she's worked with me and she can vouch for me. And they responded to her and they were like, yeah, we heard her demos, we love her stuff, and we're going to sign her. So very lucky. I have a great agent.
That's awesome. Yeah, the having people vouch for you, I think, is so important. Like, how important are you finding relationships in the voice world? Because I know in the live action world, it's like super important. But I wonder if that carries over to voice work as well. Is relationship building a big part of your work life?
Oh, for sure. As a voice actor, like I'm very confident in my skill set, I guess. I am happy with where I'm at, but I am a dime a dozen. There are a lot of really talented voice actors out there, and I think relationships really do matter if you want to find some consistent work. There's a company in San Francisco that brings me on every couple months for games. They just know that they can rely on me, that I'm on time, and that in the booth I do my job, have a few laughs, and then get out. And they continue to send me work, and that's very important. I don't know if I would have gotten into this agency that I'm with right now if my friend hadn't, stuck her neck out for me. Relationships are very important, but it can't be relationships that you're pushing to happen or that you're forming just because there's an end goal of maybe they'll refer me or maybe they'll hire me. I find the best relationships and the most helpful are the most authentic. Just people I connect with on LinkedIn because I love the work they did, or people who like I saw on LinkedIn post their cat, and I love cats. I love all animals, and I just thought it was a funny post, so I connected with them and loved the post. The connections need to be authentic. People can see fakeness or inauthenticity from a mile away. And especially in this field, it's just authenticity is refreshing. It really
Yeah.
is.
Bonding over cats over the internet is a tale as
Hmm.
old as time. I mean,
For sure.
that's
Yeah. I
that's
have
awesome.
one cat that was sneaking in here earlier, but I think he left because my family made some noise in the kitchen. He's very nosy. But then I have another cat who's always asleep on my bed. And then my brother has a cat, and my mom has her cat. We have four rescue cats, and we have
Wow.
six chickens. We
Oh,
want to adopt a pup, but we're just procrastinating because it's going to be a dog is a big responsibility and a big shift in the camaraderie that our pets all have right now.
yeah, four cats, six chickens, and a dog is that's
Yeah.
a full on household right there.
Yeah, definitely. So worth it though. I just love having animals around.
Yeah, having chickens would be cool. Like, do you like they lay eggs and everything for you for
Oh
breakfast and stuff?
yeah, they take off at the for a month or two in the winter because when the days get shorter. But we have six chickens and we consistently get 4 to 6 eggs a day,
Wow.
which is great. And so when I was little, I wanted to get into agriculture. If I didn't do this, I would have gone into like maybe agri-science or something related to farming because I love farming. I love growing things, and I love animals. I love like interacting with chickens and livestock. So I got the chickens kind of on a whim. There's a farm near me, and every spring they have chick season, and they have chicks. And I went out and picked out 7 chicks. We brought them home. Our neighborhood, even though we're kind of in like a agricultural zone, they don't allow roosters. So one of my chicks ended up being a rooster and started doing the baby crow. And I was like, man! And a friend of mine who has a 10-acre farm took him, and he's doing great. He's a dad now. That rooster is a dad to like 10 baby chicks, and he's living a good life. And now the 6 chicks I got, these teeny tiny little things that fit in my hand, they're all big and obnoxious and funny and laying lots of eggs for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I think
Yeah.
it's so important to have also like, and this is something that I struggle with a little bit,
Mm,
but it's like it's important to have other things, like you, it's great to like focus on your work and love your work, but it's also really important to have like some cats and like some chickens to take care of, and
yeah.
like uh, for me lately it's been plants. I've like been getting probably more plants than I can take care of at this point, but I think having these little hobbies and like um, just doing other things is like a rest for your brain,
Yeah.
even if you're just going to the gym or doing like just doing other stuff. I think I've had to like teach myself to be like, it's okay, I can do not work stuff for a minute, at least for me, because I'm so work oriented. Like I'm constantly trying to either write something or work on the podcast, which is like a fairly new project for me. But I'm very driven by productivity. And I think it's been important for me to be like, oh, I need to like step back a little bit sometimes and be like, hey, I'm gonna pet a dog for a minute, or
Mm.
like I'm gonna like go for a walk or do these other things. How important has that been for you in terms of like finding other hobbies and finding other projects to work on?
Oh, so important. I'm very sensitive and I overthink. So if I don't get a lot of auditions or I don't hear from people or I just did an audition that was had a deadline, so I had to get it in, but I just kept thinking about it because I could have done this better or that better. Like I drive myself crazy, and like yes, and if you're working in the creative field, at least I think it's really important that you're passionate about it, but that passion can really exhaust you sometimes if all you do is think about work. So I definitely need other things that I care about and that I'm passionate about. My pets. I also love plants. I love growing things. I love video games. I love gaming. I used to dance. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to dance professionally. I loved it. I don't do it as much anymore, but I still just need some kind of other outlet. Otherwise, I'll drive myself nuts.
Yeah, an outlet is so key. It's
Mhm.
so key. And I would imagine even for someone who's like doing non-creative work, I guess that's why hobbies exist, right? They just need a mental break from whatever the thing is they're doing. And I can really relate to that, but I find it hard sometimes to get myself to do that, especially when
Mhm.
you're like, oh, I'm not in the place I want to be yet. So I want to like keep working hard to like get to that place. but it's at some point you also have to be like, you also need a little break, like because you work better when you're not burnt out and exhausted all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I made the first couple of months of 2026 about not obsessing over auditioning for everything that comes to my email, and worrying more about coaching and being in a space like with someone else where I can make mistakes or ask questions and not just be like, okay, I'm in a session, let's get to it. And that's really helped too. Coaching and just refreshing what I'd learned and was doing last year, as well as finding another outlet completely not related to voiceover. And I have been like Googling things in my area and thinking about other things to do like on weekends or something. I also house sit. I house sit 2 or 3 times a week on weekends for neighbors, and that's been great because I get to hug other puppers and other kitties that I don't see every day, and make some extra money on the side.
Nice. Yeah, house sitting sounds like it would be a good good gig for me because I'm like, oh, I could just like be in someone else's house and write and work on my stuff.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
sounds like a smart idea. Like I like to end usually by asking about a time in someone's life, either personally or professionally, when they stepped outside of their comfort zone and how that impacted your life moving forward. Is there a time that like maybe resonates with you?
Um, I know I talked a lot about coaching, but at the end of 2025, I started coaching with a really well-renowned big casting director who uh, casts all the big things. And kind of the general idea is that a lot of voice actors talk about is when you get coaching, don't immediately start coaching with casting directors you want to work with. Coach with coaches before you're confident that when you're in front of, even though that casting director can't advertise their coaching session as a chance for them to possibly hear you and hire you for the future, you don't want to make a bad impression in front of a casting director. And commercial was for the longest time my least confident genre, I guess. And I started to get much better and book a lot of fun commercials at the end of 2025. So I felt that I was ready to coach with this casting director who casts like all the big national brands that like can change your life if you book. And I started doing that, and I think it's going well. She's really happy with our sessions, and I've learned so much from her. And the first session I had with her, I don't think she noticed, but my hands were like shaking when I started reading for her, like reading scripts in front of her. And that definitely, like, I haven't had that shaky feeling in so long. Like when I first started voiceover, my hands would shake in sessions, and I would just make sure they couldn't see them because I don't want them to see them. But I that was like when I first got started and was in front of like voice directors for the first time. So this coaching session recently, I was like, wow, I haven't been doing this in a while, but it was a great experience because I'm learning a lot from her.
Yeah, sometimes that shaking feeling, however it manifests for different people, uh, some people sweat, some people get nervous or fidgety or whatever the thing is. It's like that's a really uncomfortable feeling, but sometimes that feeling means that like you're growing or you're pushing yourself to do something that's, a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but ultimately the thing that will help you. And so congratulations on finding that feeling again.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was great.
Well, thank you so much, Natalie. I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with me. And I'm excited to keep listening to your voice on all these exciting, cool projects that you're doing. Where can people find you and listen to you?
Sure. On LinkedIn, I'm very active on there. Just Natalie Hitzel. It's the name of my profile. My website is nataliehitzel.com, and my Instagram, I think, is Natalie_Hitzel. And my Instagram's more like my posts are very voiceover related, but then my Instagram stories are very like goofing off with my friends, having a few drinks, yelling at each other over Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers. But I like a mix of both because I like to be authentic and, show that I have a personality and I have really goofy friends that I'm really proud to hang out with and share videos of.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for any Super or Mario Kart videos.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Natalie, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. I really had fun.